Welcome back to another episode of Home Tech. I'm Jason Griffin, and I'm joined as usual by Seth Johnson. Seth, how are you?
Doing well, Jason. How's it going?
It's going great. It's going great here. I hear that you've been a busy man out there on the housing market.
Yeah, I'm looking around. We're visiting. We're popping into homes in the area, just kind of do the home shopping thing, and just try and find a house that's within our price range and our budget and all that good stuff. And it's a little more difficult, but I'm running across all sorts of funny technologies that we're putting home. A couple intercoms, and I ran across this central vac in a house today that was built in 1958. So we'll put some pictures in the show notes.
Yeah,
it's pretty incredible.
You sent me the pictures to that, and it is always interesting to see, isn't it? Like what used to be considered high tech in the home, and whenever I see stuff like that, it always makes me wonder what people are going to think of the stuff that we're putting in now when they see it, 10, 20 years from now, and where things are going.
Right. Yeah. This thing had the wall inlets were like this chrome, like shiny chrome with push buttons for on and off.
Yeah, it almost looks like copper, bronzy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the vac itself, the tank itself in the garage was like an Iron Giant looking thing. It was incredible. So We'll put those pictures in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll get those pictures up there. Lot to cover. Great episode here. We had Mike Soucie from Revolv. He's a co-founder and head of marketing at Revolv, and it was great timing to get Mike onto the show. They've got a ton of stuff going on. Those guys have just been really busy over there.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That they came out with the Android app just recently, which was kind of one of the things that people have been asking for a while. And then they announced at CEDIA that they had a partnership with Global Cache, which brought in AV control. And then now, like a couple of days ago, or maybe today, they announced if this then that support would be coming or is in process or anything. I'm not sure,
yeah,
but
I think it's out, and it was kind of right now like somewhat of a limited, I guess, rollout. You would say their official statement was that they're kind of focusing on recipes for external web services that trigger Revolv actions. So if they cited the example of like a consumer receiving a call on their smartphone, they could pause. It would automatically pause Sonos in their house, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it.
So, it seems like a great fit, and it was a great conversation. We look forward to sharing that with our audience. Before we kind of jump into the news here, though, we first wanted to send a quick thanks again to everybody who's listening. We really do appreciate it. And if you like what you hear, share it with your friends. That goes a long ways. Stop by iTunes, leave us a review, and, let us know how we're doing. Stop by the website and leave us a comment. Also very exciting, Seth, we got our very first SpeakPipe voice message.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Jose in Miami
stepped up to the plate. And for people who may not have heard before, we don't announce it on every show, but we do have a SpeakPipe account. And SpeakPipe is a way that you can be featured on the show. So it's a very kind of exciting, fun thing to do. It's free. It's a real quick thing to do. Just go to speakpipe.com/HomeTech.fm. And from there, it's extremely self-explanatory. And you can leave us up to a 90-second voicemail.
Yeah, so let's just jump in and listen to what Jose had to say.
Hey, guys. This is Jose from Miami, Florida. Hey, just want to leave you a voicemail and let you know that you guys are doing a great job. Love your podcast. Look forward to listening to you guys every week. So just wanted to give you a shout out and let you know that you guys are doing a great job. Also, got a question for you and also maybe a suggestion for a future show. I know I've heard in your podcast you talk about integration and differences between a professional installed systems, kind of like what you guys do, and kind of like DIY system. The difference is basically, from what I understand, is that video and audio integration within the home automation system is the big difference. And wanted to see if you guys can kind of elaborate a little bit on that and kind of give us an idea, or at least me an idea of kind of what is the difference. I mean, is it more the integration within the platform or the control itself? For instance, I use Media Center for audio and video, and and basically I use a Roku box for all internet services. But I use iRule as a platform for control. So, for instance, my wife just touches a button, everything changes, and pretty much she doesn't really care what's on the back end. For all she cares is pressing a button, making sure everything works. So kind of wanted to get an idea if the platform is what you guys are kind of referring to, or more.
All right, so he got cut off just a little bit there, but I kind of get what he was asking about.
Yeah. So real quick, point out that if you do stop by there and leave a message, it is limited to 90 seconds, and that's, I think, what happened to Jose there at the end.
Well, he's asking what the difference is between pro and DIY, and I think we talked about this a little bit before with other on other shows. That I think Jose actually falls into a third camp, and that's going to be the prosumer, the professional consumer, because he sounds like he's got a whole lot going on in the house. If he's got one-touch operation, that's really the goal, is what integrators are trying to do. But I don't think that is the only differentiator, if you will. I think that we sometimes do have access to other products, like products that require either licensing or a specialized training to install. And I think really, to me, that's really what separates the professionals from the prosumers at that point, because you're not going to, as a prosumer, going to go out and then buy a Lutron QS centralized panelized lighting system. I mean, that's just not going to happen, not for a one-off thing. There's a huge amount of investment and time and training and everything that goes into building up a business around these systems and a process around these systems that can't be duplicated in a one-off basis. And I hope that makes sense to Jose there. I hope that makes sense to the audience. But to me, that's what separates the pro from the DIY and to some extent from the prosumer, like Jose is.
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. And, it brings up a great point that sometimes we have to be a little careful about how we use DIY, because sometimes I'll use DIY. I know that I will. Sort of referring to products like SmartThings or Revolv, or there's tons of these other hubs that are coming out on the market, but that doesn't always catch it, because really, like you said, there's kind of this third camp of people that are these more hardcore, like enthusiast, hobbyist, do-it-yourselfers, prosumers, as you were calling them, and that definitely to me sounded like where Jose fits in. He's an iRule user. He said he uses Media Center. Jose, if you haven't checked out Richard Gunther's show, Home On, it sounds like it would be a good fit for you. Another great show, and we encourage our listeners to check that out. But yeah, I think, Seth, you're right. The real true differentiator is when you get into the more specialized integrations, doing things like panelized lighting. To a certain extent, shade control is still kind of in that realm, although that's starting to change more and more. Even specification of shading. I mean, that's you just have to measure a window. But if you measure a window and it's a $20,000 shade, that's exactly, you can't return it. It's custom built, so you have to get that right. And a lot of times when we're doing shades, they're recessed into pockets, so everything is very, very concealed. And we're getting into a little bit of minutia here, but to answer his question, I think that's really where the true difference lies. But it sounds like he's got a real handle on his home technology needs, and he sounds like enjoys doing it. And Jose, thank you for leaving the message, and thank you so much for listening to the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. It was it's pretty interesting. I like this SpeakPipe thing. I'm glad you got us on board, Jason.
Yeah. And again, it's speakpipe.com/HomeTech.fm. And we really encourage people to hop over there and leave us a message. It's your chance to be featured on the show.
Cool. So you want to talk about a little news?
Yeah, let's jump into the news. First story we wanted to touch on is a new ecobee thermostat that actually just came out. It's the ecobee 3. And this thing actually looks really, really slick to me.
Yeah, it looks good. Nest kind of upped the ante for design on thermostats. And we had the Honeywell, what is it called, Link, that just came out a couple months back.
Lyric, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it looks like ecobee, which has been around for a while, and they've had actually decent-looking thermostats. I mean, they weren't horrible-looking at all. Looks like they kind of upped the ante here and wanted to impress with their design as well.
Yeah, no, the design on it is definitely what I was referring to. It's a very well-designed product, at least aesthetically, and time will tell how it functions. The cool thing about this device is that it actually links up to 32 independent room sensors. So it sort of is acting as a multi-zone almost thermostat. But I was kind of wondering, Seth, and I don't know, maybe you can elaborate like how that actually works. Maybe for somebody like me who lives in an apartment that only has an individual zone, does that really come into play? Like, do you know?
No, I mean this looks like it's just kind of reaching out. Maybe you have a room that gets a lot more sun exposure. You could put a sensor in that room and it would kind of level out and trying to get that room a little bit colder for you. Mm-hmm. But then again, it may make another room in another part of the house colder than it should be. So that's where products like EcoVent look really, really, really
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I want to see is an EcoVent put in with this, maybe. So
yeah. And I'm sure there's somebody out there listening who knows more about HVAC than us, and they're hey, here's your chance to use SpeakPipe. Call in and let us know, correct us. But yeah, I'm curious to learn more about that. I mean, it's got these little wireless sensors that you can place around your house. And the idea is that, like you said, they're sort of leveling things out to optimize comfort throughout your house. And what's actually also cool about these sensors is that they recognize motion. So they start to, it says learn like patterns and kind of how you move through the house certain parts of the day. So it looks like there's quite a bit of intelligence built into this unit. That's
a smart idea because Nest actually has a motion detector built into it, but you have to be walking by, and I don't know about you, but thermostat in my house is like in a hallway. I'm never walking down that hallway. So it never really made sense for me to buy a Nest. And as it turns out, I mean, there's a lot of complaints about how well Nest works, how well the smart feature work. I think I turn off all the smart features on every install that I've done so far just because of the complaints I get from the customer.
Yeah.
This isn't comfortable. Why can't it just be 73 all day in here? That's what people kind of want. And if this does a better job of leveling out the temperature throughout the house and kind of keeping up, by motion detection if someone's home, I think it's a home run. And Ecobee, I've used their thermostats in the past. Really good stuff. Really good, really good thermostats, and they had a really good web app. They were around well before Nest, and they've been doing this a long time.
Nice, yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at is the thermostat here at my place is just old and it's the one that came with it. But our climate control here is really bad. Like the living room where we sit gets very warm. The bedrooms get really cool very easily, and so it's hard to keep things level. And so I'm wondering if a product like this would help me because I have like just obviously a basic single zone system. So I'll have to do a little bit of research on that and see maybe this product would be a good fit. Costs $249, and that comes with a single one of these wireless sensors, and then it looks like you can pick up additional pairs of these sensors for $79.
Not bad at all.
No, not at all.
So we talked about CEDIA last week, and then we had a show with MaxMic TV. But we kind of missed kind of an important thing I think most other podcasts were talking about. Probably because we were too tired at CEDIA to even go into it. But Apple had a little thing on Tuesday, the day before CEDIA cranked up, and announced a bunch of stuff, including iOS 8.
Yes, they did indeed. And, we've talked about it before. We're not really the Apple show. We don't pretend to be, but obviously Apple, when they make big announcements like this, we can't ignore it. CEDIA kind of overrode that for us, but yeah, let's talk about what they released. I know iOS 8 came out for download this week, I think yesterday, and as we record anyways, and I believe you're already updated. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. As soon as it came out, I was hitting the little refresh button all day long.
I figured as much.
But you know what? I think we didn't cover it at CEDIA because nothing major was announced for HomeKit, which I thought was pretty glaring. A pretty glaring omission. It leads me to believe, or at least hope, that they're going to have something later in the year where they update the Apple TV, like we were talking about with Chris Breen, and they come out with a HomeKit extravaganza.
Like
title.
a whole dedicated event for HomeKit.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you never know. I was disappointed that they didn't even. I mean, it didn't even really get mentioned at all. I don't think once. Maybe they're just like you said, working on something big for later and keeping it in the can for now. Who knows? Don't want to speculate too much. iOS 8 obviously has that HomeKit functionality kind of cooked into it, but probably for now, I'd imagine it's just sort of sitting in the background.
Yeah, I'm still curious because I did a search for HomeKit on the App Store. It didn't really come up with anything. So I'm wondering, obviously either it just wasn't on developers' radars or we're waiting to see what hardware comes out first. And I'm wondering, I mean, the MFI program that Apple has, you kind of have to go through them. You have to get a specific chip to put in your system, it turns out. I don't know. I mean, I'm wondering if they're all going to release at the same time and nobody can talk about it because you have to go through that program, which obviously you'll have to sign an NDA for. So I'm really curious as to what's going to happen later in the year. This could be a pretty killer thing if they come out with something. So again, speculation, but that's really why we didn't cover the Apple news and iOS 8 and all that good stuff, is because we were just kind of left out.
Yeah, a little bummed about that. The Apple Watch did come out. Actually, was kind of surprised it wasn't called iWatch. I was like wondering if we can still call it that. They were calling it the Apple Watch. We don't get into wearables a lot on this show. I think it's still kind of a nascent market, but I do think this is going to be big. And I don't think I'm not even pretending that I'm going out on a ledge by saying that. I mean, it's Apple coming out with a new product line, and that's always been successful for them. I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be. I'm curious to see how developers kind of take to this in the context of HomeKit. I really am one who believes that gesture-based home automation control, the kind of convergence of wearable technology with home automation, and our listeners will hear in the interview Mike Soucie talking about kind of the future and where that's going with the conscious home. I think wearables are going to play into that, and I think Apple Watch is it's going to be a game changer, I think.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know if you noticed, but on the slide deck when they were flying through all the features and third-party integrations, they covered BMW. You could find your car that way. There are a couple of other interesting apps that third-party developers, I think there was like a Target shopping thing, I'm not sure, but one of the things they showed was a Lutron app on the watch. So
they did,
I thought that was very cool. We talked to the CEDIA guys, at Lutron a little bit about, and they said, oh yeah, that was really cool. We were
They seemed very excited about that. And actually, I think the guy we were talking to, I don't remember his name, but he was one of the developers, I believe. Not necessarily for that product, but he was a developer for Lutron. Yeah.
I think he did part of the interface or some of the interface work on the iOS app or one of the apps internal.
Yeah, and he was a little coy. He couldn't tell us much. It was kind of nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But it sounded like they've got some really exciting things in the works already with integrating with Apple Watch, and I think they're just going to be the first of many.
Yeah, definitely. And Lutron's a big name, so everybody run out and go get your CEDIA Pro hubs now, so you can integrate
your SmartBridge Pro.
Yeah, exactly.
Or your SmartBridge.
Yep.
There was a third story that I wanted to touch on, and that is that Harmony has actually come out with an ultimate home remote, and lo and behold, it comes with a home automation hub.
I brought the hub bell back from Denver,
and we're going to keep that going for anyone who doesn't know. New hubs and new protocols. Get the bell.
Get a bell. So yeah, this looks pretty cool. Comes from Harmony, which I have mixed feelings about, but I've heard a lot of good things about the products that the recent remotes that have come out. A lot of people are really happy with them. They like using them. So it's a hard button remote with the touchscreen interface usually on it, or a screen interface that you can kind of program and configure really easily, actually.
Yeah.
Hey, if they're getting into home automation, $349, it looks like this is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I agree. And they've always had some like sort of home automation tie-ins, like drivers for things like Nest and popular devices like that, since those devices have become popular. But yeah, I've never been a huge fan of Harmony, but I think that I'm with you. Like, I'm hearing better things about them. And this remote to me actually looks pretty compelling. It's a nice looking remote. Like you said, you get the hard buttons, which you and I harp on all the time. Is like having that tactile hard button remote is super, super important, especially if you're controlling AV components like a cable box or something. You kind of want to channel surf. This looks like a nice remote. $349 gets you the remote, which comes with the hub. $149 actually looks like they have a cheaper remote that comes with hard buttons only. So you kind of have some flexibility there. If you want to save a few bucks, you can get the cheaper remote, but they both come with the hub.
Yeah, seems like a pretty good deal. And if it's easy to set up as the remotes were, then, I can't really fault it. My only problem was with the lifespan of the equipment. I had near probably 95% failure rate on products, and when that happens as an integrator, I end up eating them and having to be out at a client's house, having an awkward conversation with them, and it's just never a good thing. So I swore them off years ago, and maybe it's time to come back around and look at them again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely see this that as a straight to consumer product. I don't know personally as an integrator if I would get behind it, maybe like for like kind of a small, quick in and out sort of thing.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my main line.
of course. But, that's kind of the same experience that I've heard over and over again from integrators that have put their toes in the water with Harmony, is just that the quality of the hardware was no good. And hopefully they've taken steps to improve that. This hub comes with Wi-Fi, IR, of course, and Bluetooth. And it looks like they've got an extender for $129 that adds Zigbee and Z-Wave functionality as well. Wow,
this gets kind of expensive.
It can, yeah, and that's how they get you, right?
Yeah, just get you with the hub and keep adding on extenders and remotes and everything. I don't know.
But it's hard to compare this to something like, a SmartThings, because this is a different animal. This is this can control your entertainment center, and that is a big, big differentiator. We talk about that again in the Revolv interview. You'll hear Mike talk about it, and Revolv has started to dip their toes in the water with AV control. It's a much, I don't want to say much more complicated, but it's just a complicated thing to execute. One thing that I thought was interesting, the story I was reading about this new remote, is that it says everything can be done through the app, so there's no more PC software. And I don't know, that caught my attention because I was wondering, can that really be true? Like, even for setting up your entertainment center and setting up, complicated macros and things of that nature. I mean, I can't imagine that would be an enjoyable experience to try to set up that sort of thing through an app.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be too far outside of their wheelhouse, because their programming software in the past has just been, done inside of an internet browser. Mm-hmm. So that's really not that hard to bring that technology down to an app. If you've already got that type of integration in, that would be pretty easy for their developers to do, and not a bad idea. Control 4 has done essentially that with Composer. I got to think about this. Composer Express.
Yep.
That is pretty much an HTML app. It doesn't look correct on either iPhone or Android, but it's based on HTML, so the interface is exactly the same in both of them. And then what it does is it ties in with their their my.control4 service, and does all the integration that way. So it's not completely unheard of. And I think Harmony probably had the leg up on everyone, since everything they do is HTML anyway.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. So why don't we go ahead and jump into our interview with Mike Soucie. Mike, again, is the co-founder and head of marketing at Revolv, and it was a great conversation, and we hope you guys enjoy. Today, we're pleased to welcome Mike Soucie, co-founder and head of marketing at Revolv, to the show. Mike, how are you?
Doing great, Jason. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us.
Sure.
Well, before we jump into some of the details, I know you guys have been very, very busy at Revolv. There's been a lot going on, and we keep seeing stuff come across the radar about you. But before we jump into that, why don't you give our listeners just like a brief personal introduction about you and maybe some of your background prior to Revolv?
Sure. This is my third tech startup. Before this, I had a 3D and multimedia software company that I ran for 12 years as CEO. And, we started Revolv about 2.5, 3 years ago when I met my two technical co-founders, Jeff and Haley, who had been deeply embedded into this wireless technology around the Zigbee technology. They were early hires of Ember Corporation that was acquired by Scilabs. And anyway, they've been teaching the home automation industry about wireless technologies for the last 15 years, and they got together and decided they were going to create their own solution. What I brought to the team was marketing and business development experience, and again, running a company for 12 years, I could bring that experience. We got together, we applied to Techstars, which is an accelerator program in over 7 cities throughout the country and over in England. We got into the Boulder startup, accelerator program, and we spent 3 months going through a mentorship, which allowed us to refine our product and vision. And that's where we met our current CEO, Tim Inwall, who's also a serial entrepreneur, started his career at Apple, and built a company called Tendril here in Boulder. And he was available, and we asked him to join us. And then we secured our first round of funding from the Foundry Group, and essentially had 12 months to build what is Revolv today, which is, we can get into that product in just a second. And since then, we've raised another $4.6 million, and we are about a year into the release cycle. So it's been a fast whirlwind, but it's an exciting market to be in. And from a personal perspective, the thing that really drew me to this was looking at this connected IoT world that really we were approaching quickly and wanting to be a part of a big cultural shift. So I think from starting a company and building it from scratch, that's where I got a lot of my fulfillment is just realizing that the home is going to be the next frontier, and seeing how our digital worlds are being shaped by our mobile devices and also all these devices in our home. So it's pretty exciting for me personally as well as for the company.
Wow, yeah, that's some of the time frames you were giving there were just like, I can't believe 12 months to build a product sounds incredibly short to me. One is, it looks, as refined as Revolv did when it was released. I mean, just kind of blows me away that you're able to do that.
I think it speaks to how technical our team is, our two co-founders, and again, having had that experience of understanding embedded wireless technologies, having built hardware. We certainly see a lot of great innovation coming out of Kickstarter projects and a lot of vision, but you can clearly see that a lot of those dates are missed because people underestimate how long hardware and how difficult it truly is to create and make. And that's where we have kind of a technical advantage. And then again, hiring great engineers as well as a great CEO, and again, serial entrepreneurs have, that experience has really played into, hitting our milestone. And we got it out in 14 months, so we're a couple months late, but we're really proud of V1 of what we were able to accomplish with it, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's amazing how many of the people that we've talked to, the hardware guys, that have we've talked to, that just, it kind of seems just like night and day from what it was just a couple of years ago, where everybody was investing in software. Now it's it's more hardware. Like, we're seeing things like Revolv and some other products come onto the market that were put through these accelerator programs. It's just amazing to me that you can actually put hardware into those, and people will invest money into hardware these days. It's certainly exciting. It makes for a more exciting market to me.
Well, and I think it's a culmination. We have hit a tipping point on what they call the hype curve. Cisco, I think, puts out this hype curve every year, and we are at that tipping point where it makes sense because of the smartphone, the ubiquity of the smartphone that has been controlling a lot of our digital lives for the last 5 to 8 years. Along with that, and the cost reduction of embedded wireless technologies is finally allowing manufacturers to connect these physical devices. So it's really kind of a culmination of multiple industries, multiple technologies hitting this price-sensitive point and ubiquity in use of smartphones that really has enabled this industry to come to fruition at this point. So, and there's many different aspects of IoT and it's not just a smartphone; it's a smart cities. You're starting to see again. The scope is we're just at the beginning of what's going to be huge in hardware. But you're correct. I think venture capitalists have seen the writing on the wall here in the last 2 years, have really invested heavily in hardware because of that culminating tipping points.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess we teased around it a little bit. What is Revolv now? Let's just talk a little bit more about the product.
Yeah, you bet. So Revolv is a smart home solution that really simply and elegantly unifies hardware devices or accessories or products like Sonos music system, Philips Hue Y, Yale and Quickset locks, Nest thermostat. So all the gear that we might have in our home that we call the connected home accessories, Revolv unifies that. So each one of those products can communicate with one another under a single application. So our solution is made up of a single hub that has 7 different radios in there that speak with all the different languages that each one of those manufacturer products have in their products. And then again, we supply a single iOS and Android app that can control all of those products under one umbrella. Once you have those products in a single app, you can do great things around that. And that is not only control them in your home, adjusting your thermostat, but while you're away remotely on vacation or at the office, you can control these devices. Then secondarily, you can set up automations around you and your lifestyle. So there's a geofence around your home, essentially, around your Revolv home, that you can literally keep the phone in your pocket and you can have your home and these devices react around you coming and going. So the simplest scenario is I leave my house with phone in my pocket, my doors lock, my thermostat sets back, and all my lights turn off. And I don't even have to worry whether I remember to do any of those things. And the reverse happens. So, the garage door can open, doors unlock, lights turn on, and my favorite music is playing when I get home. So those are really simple ideas of what Revolv can do, but that's what we were able to release with version 1. So, again, it's pretty exciting just to create this unifying solution behind all these great connected home products that we're seeing hitting the market.
Yeah, I think definitely you hit the nail on the head there. Keyword is unifying, and Seth and I talk about it a lot. Seth and I both come from the CEDIA background, dealer-installed systems, and for a long time we were seeing a lot of point solutions come to the smart home market, but the problem was that you always had a separate app for everything. So you had one app for your smart lights, maybe one app for your lock, et cetera. And I think that's really the problem that you guys are solving very well. You talked about 7 radios built into the device. Can you specifically list which radios are built in there? And I know that some of them are currently active, and I believe others are, kind of pending future firmware updates.
Sure. So the 7 radios that we have are Wi-Fi, Zigbee, Z-Wave, Insteon, and then we have some proprietary radios around 433 megahertz and 900 megahertz. So we have two 433s and one 900. So what that enables us to, and to your point, the active ones currently, which we released with, are Z-Wave, Insteon, and Wi-Fi. And we are in the process of bringing up our Zigbee radio. So the great thing or at least our approach in building the hardware was, let's add all the radios we think are going to be relevant over the next 4 or 5 years into the hub today. Then we can, just through a simple firmware update, bring up a new radio, which would then enable us to work with many, many more devices. So just with those radios alone, when we first released last November, we supported 35 devices in about seven different categories, about 10 different manufacturers. We're currently up to 115 devices in about, I think we're at 14 or 15 categories with over 20 manufacturers. And what we've identified is about 26 categories in the home. And when I say a category, you're talking about a light, a lock, thermostat, an irrigation, a garage control, water sensor, outlets. Those are all categories. And in each one of those categories, there's usually 3 or 4 different players or unique devices that kind of lead that category. So, for instance, Nest and thermostat, Honeywell is another competitor. Then there's 3M or Trane is in there, right? And so our goal is to actually support all 26 categories, and we've identified over 300 devices that we are planning on supporting by the end of 2015, and that's rolling. So.
Wow.
We're working hard to get updates on broader device support and bringing out more radios. by the end.
That's great. I know I read an article, I believe it was in CE Pro recently, that kind of hinted that Zigbee was sort of coming soon. Can you speak to maybe when that's available, or is that something that you guys are still kind of holding in your back pocket?
In real broad terms, within the next, month, 6 weeks, we should have it available. And so, we've obviously got it working. We're qualifying devices to work with Zigbee right now. And so each one of those devices, we're really set on making sure that the consumer experience, and we can talk about that in a moment, is really unified across the application. And so we actually bring in each device, put it through a QA, make sure that we produce installation instructions to get the user to be able to add that to their hub very easily and quickly without relying on just the manufacturer instructions. So it is quite a bit of a process to qualify individual devices. But Zigbee's should be up in the next month or two at the latest.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. But that segues perfectly. We've covered a lot of the background and a little bit of the technical stuff. Let's get into kind of the user experience. What, as an end user, if I go out and pick up a Revolv and bring it home, what's sort of my unboxing and setup process? Can you kind of outline what that looks like?
Sure. And I think it's safe to say that when we looked at the market, there was many different ways we could enter, and that could be a play around security, which there's a lot of players into that kind of category, kind of playing on security, peace of mind around alarms and motion sensors. We kind of took the approach of looking at the market and saying, listen, a lot of connected consumer devices that are really selling well are not necessarily home automation, let alone security. And that would be Sonos, Nest, Philips Hue, Belkin, Wemo type of products. And we saw a huge adoption over the last year or two of these products. So we took the idea of let's go and draft behind what we call lifestyle automation. Those are connected products. And when consumers have 2, 3, or 4 of those products installed, they realize there's a unique pain. That pain is, A, as you mentioned, app fatigue. There's multiple apps for each one of those products. And 2, they don't usually have the same protocol, the wireless protocol. And then thirdly is, from a consumer perspective, it's kind of a complex world. And so Revolv really set to ease the complexity out of it. So that's kind of setting up for a major kind of way we approach the unboxing and the setup is really around dead simple setup. So just to take you through that process, once you take off the packaging, you have a hub. And that hub, the only thing it has to connect to is a power line. There's no Ethernet. And that's strategic in a couple of different ways. Number one is it allows you to place the hub in a central location in the home to get the best reception to all the gear. Because quite frankly, wherever our router is doesn't necessarily mean or is located in the center of the home. For instance, I'm in my basement right now, and I'm in the corner, and that's where my router is. So we also don't take up a jack in your router. So there's no RJ45, no Ethernet. We're clearly using Wi-Fi just to do the initial connection. Now, how do you get this hub that has no input method onto your local Wi-Fi network? This was the first innovation that we conquered, and we use a process called FlashLink. And as you download our app, the first thing it says is plug in the hub. The second thing it says is we found your Wi-Fi network. Just enter your password. And then we'll have you or instruct you to use your iPhone or your tablet and place the camera's flash next to this little hub center. And we click next, and the camera's flash of your smartphone will be blinking. And what it's doing is optically transmitting the Wi-Fi credentials to the hub. And within 60 seconds, that hub is now on your local Wi-Fi network. There's no IP addresses or port calls or port forwarding or anything you have to do to your router. We essentially transferred Wi-Fi credentials to the hub. It reboots, and it's now on your local Wi-Fi network. From there, it begins discovering gear that you might already have installed. So if you have a Sonos, Nest, or Philips Hue, it'll automatically find it, and you'll begin to see it populate in the application itself. And then for certain devices like Z-Wave devices, you have to put the device in a pairing method. So you might have to press a button, and Revolv will discover it once it kind of is in beaconing mode. And then for security type of products like locks, there's more of a detailed experience to try to get the lock paired with the hub. And that is, putting in certain numbers and so forth. And once they're paired, then you have, Revolv set up. I mean, with all intents and purposes, getting the hub on your network is truly a minute or two. And after that, it's just a matter of adding devices, and then you're up and running within, I would say, half an hour.
Yeah, when I was at CEDIA, I purposely made one of your guys delete everything and start over because I was going to see exactly how easy this setup was. And I think your description of it took longer than setting up the entire system. I mean, it was incredibly fast. So fast I was shocked. And then there's instructions in like a help section he was showing me where if you don't know how to set up a certain device, you guys have, like you said, gone in and vetted these devices and put in the special instructions on exactly what to do. And I thought that was just, first of all, the unbox and just flashlight to set up a device was incredibly brilliant because it networking is such a pain. I mean, even with hardwired networking, something will always go wrong. And if you have Wi-Fi in the house and the home is and the phone you have is on Wi-Fi, you should be able to get onto that network somehow. So I thought that was a brilliant idea, just to take that pain point of getting the device, or the hub in this case, on to the network. It was so easy and so simple.
Yeah, like I said, I think for this whole industry to move forward, at least from the consumer's perspective, it really has to be easy. And if we don't make it easy, that's going to hold the entire industry back. So, it's interesting. When we were creating Revolv and we realized our target demographic for the most part was direct to consumer, we said, what are the 3 things we have to nail? What are the 3 things, regardless of all the big things that we have for where the product wants to go? And we realized dead simple setup, easy device discovery, and just simple automations. And if we could just hit those 3 out of the first V1, we'll gain enough traction, brand recognition to where really we could build out the longer vision of adding more devices, more complex automations, more towards adaptive home, the conscious home, and so forth. But I really think, and again, we're not perfect, but it did give us good 4-star reviews, and to your point, and it's great to get an objective perspective saying, yeah, I think you guys nailed most of that. And again, we're not perfect, and trust me, we'll get support calls, but we really worked hard on those 3 things. And I think that's what's going to move the industry forward, to tell the mainstream consumer that, hey, this industry might be ready for me to try. So,
right. Well, one of the devices you were showing off at the show there was something that Jason and I are pretty interested in, and that it was the integration with Global Cache, which I had to pronounce right because I've pronounced it cache incorrectly in the past, and it's definitely cache.
Yeah.
But yeah, that looked pretty cool. You were showing integration with AV systems. Now, that seemed like, to me, maybe it was kind of early in the game and you guys were just kind of figuring it out or just kind of getting everything to like MVP at CEDIA there. But if you guys nail AV integration as you did with setting up a Hue light bulb, I think Revolv could be a winner here. I mean, this is pretty brilliant on the setup side.
Yeah, and I think we have a product that sells and is easy enough for the mainstream consumer to set up. We realize, though, there is a big chunk of the population that still relies on the CEDIA channel and will continue for many years. And actually, we look at the CEDIA channel as a huge opportunity for us. And as there's a shift among high-end, custom-installed, tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars type of systems, there is also a huge opportunity on the entry-level, solution. And that's where we really want to play, is not turning down business that could be quick installations in high volume. But what we realized is we needed to really start giving additional functionality to this particular channel that could do more. And AV is a complicated world. When we first got in to the industry, we get a lot of requests for AV, but that's a whole can of worms. Unfortunately, a company like Global Cache has really investigated the time to do the IR, IP integration or interoperability, and it's just a piece that we didn't want to tackle because of the complexity. So it's a great natural partnership that we could form, and that deal came together over the summer, and really we found that this isn't that difficult to integrate. So we're really excited to be able to show a demo of Global Cache. And the demo that we showed at the show, which you probably saw, was within the Revolv app. We pulled together a quick little user interface that controlled a DVD player that was playing, I think, the Avengers, just for simple control that would convert our iOS app going through our hub back out to the Global Cache little bridge that would convert over to the IR signal that was in front of the DVD. And what we could do is play, pause, and skip ahead and have kind of that DVD functionality. So it was just the beginning of what will be a real fruitful partnership for both Global Cache and Revolv, as well as hopefully giving really the CEDIA dealer channel kind of a set of features that they can really begin to build a custom solution around Revolv, or I should say, something that's not available to the general consumer, because that is a little bit too complex for them.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that because Seth and I talk about that a lot on this show, being, professional integrators, that really the big difference right now, we're seeing a ton of different home automation products come online, and there's a number of different hubs out there, including obviously Revolv. But really, up until kind of this announcement, none of these products were really even talking about AV control, and that's really still been kind of the realm of like a professionally installed system. Of course, you could argue there's like Harmony remotes out there that are kind of doing it to a certain extent. But how far do you see these integrations going? I mean, is this something that's only going to be done through like a professional integrator so that they can kind of set up sort of one push macros where it's going to turn on an AV receiver, turn on a TV, fire up the Blu-ray, switch all the inputs, that sort of thing? Because I think that that kind of programming gets very difficult for most people to wrap their brain around.
It does. And, we have to draw a line at some point between the real robust solutions that have been out there at some time, whether they're hardwired or just, where Control 4 really lives, or Crestron or Savant, or the guys that really know that. And that's not our expertise, but we do realize that there is an opportunity. So it's difficult for us to know. And what we announced at the show was a integrator reseller program. And also we announced what's called the Insider Group. And the Insider Group is really where installers can come into a closed forum and really help shape the product and where it needs to go and where do we need to draw that line. Again, Revolv's expertise is really on the interoperability and user experience side of the world, but really it drops off quickly when you start getting into the heavy AV side of the world. Therefore, we have to partner or take leads from the integrators as far as how far we need to take the product. So I don't have the complete answer, but I do believe, based on the show's reaction, it's the future that we have to support this channel, and B, I think it will help. The integrators will help shape how far we need to take the product, and we're prepared to invest either the resources ourselves or their partner to get the appropriate solution to market for sure.
Great. Well, that's a good answer, and a lot of listeners in our audience work in the CEDIA channel, and we've even got a lot of listeners, professional installers overseas, and I'm sure that they'll all be happy to hear that. Can you speak at all to when you think this functionality is going to be commercially available, or again, is this something that maybe you're kind of keeping in your back pocket at the moment?
Yeah, we're not committed to dates quite yet. We're just not there. We signed the deal, we got the prototype together, and now it's making sure that we deliver the proper solution. There's always that fine line of just pushing it out there, getting feedback in more of an MVP type of situation. But we're not committed to putting out beta products. Really, we're really committed to trying to get the feedback, help shape it, then deliver a robust solution to where it's reliable, especially for integrators that are expecting a solution that really, once it's installed, it's going to work as advertised. So we certainly have some internal dates that we're shooting for, but we don't like to externally say that just because if we miss them, people will hold us accountable. So we're not quite ready there.
Very cool. It sounds like you have a pretty good handle on our industry. It's refreshing to hear, actually, come from someone that's, I guess, probably started outside of our market. I'm not sure from what you said earlier, but it sounds like you got a pretty good handle on what we as integrators are going to expect, and then you also, of course, have a really good handle on what your customers expect, and lining both of those channels up Should be real fun.
Yeah, great. And I think that's where the opportunity is. And we've done over the last year. So we were at last year's CEDIA just to test the waters and get that initial feedback. And since then, we've, formed relationships with a few dozen, integrators and really got that feedback to help us understand your side of the world. So hopefully, again, it's this industry where it feels like it's going 200 miles an hour and we can't keep up fast enough. But on the other end, we need to make sure we provide the right solution. So yeah, we'll get there.
Absolutely, I have no doubt. So speaking of moving a million miles an hour and trying to keep up, just this week you released support for If This Then That. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It sounds kind of exciting.
It is. Interestingly enough, If This Then That, or IFT, is a partner that's been on our radar since Techstars. When we went through the Techstars program, we actually had them as part of our demo day pitch as a partner, and we've been talking with Lyndon and team since then. What's interesting is, again, prioritizing features. And as you know, we had our three major things that we were trying to hit of ease of use, device discovery, and simple automations with V1. After that came Android, which we got out over the summer. And then it clearly made sense to go to that next level of tighter integration with web services. And that's certainly what IFT provides. What's exciting is, it's just the beginning for extensibility for Revolv. And again, we're working hard to provide that inside of our own application, but they've done a good job of building out just a complex network of channels based on many different web services, from Facebook to Foursquare, to other products like even Philips Hue and so forth. So the unique combination is going to make for very interesting combinations of rules and recipes.
Very nice. Yeah, I think that's exciting news for you guys, and seems like a no-brainer. Look forward to seeing where that goes. So we're kind of running up against our time here, and I did want to ask you. Seth and I have talked about it, and the market, even just since you guys came out with your product, which wasn't that long ago, the market has really changed, and we're seeing just tons and tons of products come online here, and a lot of them the prices on these hubs are like insanely low. And it kind of begs the question I got to ask you, how do you see Revolv just continuing to strive to kind of stay ahead of the pack and stay relevant against this sort of influx of cheaper competition?
That's a good question. Everyone in this market is planting a stake with a different business model. And certainly the business model with cheaper hubs is with the idea of give the hub away and make money on the attached devices. And that is a business model. What Revolv really stands for is a premium user experience. We go to great lengths, as we identified with our setup process and just our application of how easy it is to use and just how a delight it is to use our product. And we believe that that's going to be a differentiator. Quite frankly, I'm not in the business to give my product away. I can't. Just as you guys as installers, actually some of the feedback we received at the show is that we're too inexpensive. There's not enough margin at some level, right? We're at $299. Right. Some people are asking, I need a $500 or $1,000 product. So certainly it's different markets, but our competition, or how we compete, I believe is by keeping that consumer experience at a high level and committed to premium partners and working with them to create really unique experiences that the individual devices can't really touch. Nor will some of the cheaper solutions. So, there's some good quality products out there, but the way we also built our hub over the long term will give us a competitive edge. And just a little insight, not to get too technical, but we have a full processor in there. We have RAM, we have storage. And if you start thinking about gateway devices like bridges, like the Philips Hue or the MyQ garage door opener, or, Soucie shades, or 900, interoperability bridges and gateways, they're just so unnecessary with a product like Revolv. And we're working hard with some of these big companies to actually eliminate the need for them and have their software sit inside of our hub. So that's a great long-term competitive edge. And then you could store different aspects like video or pictures inside of our hub. So you just start realizing that longevity will play out, I think, our competitive advantage over time.
Very cool. Very cool. So what is next for Revolv? What are you excited about these days?
Well, there's two things, right? You have a short-term plan, sprints execution towards, the next 6 months, 12 months. Then you have your longer-term vision of where the smart home is really headed. So we're excited about both. For all intents and purposes, we released a great V1 product. We caught up with Android. We're really delivering now around conditional actions, if support, if this, then that, and then a more robust notifications. Those are features coming through Q3, Q4. What's exciting is longer-term partnerships deals we'll be announcing Q1 of next year. And then I think really on the horizon, 2, 3, 4 years out, is this idea of what we call the conscious home. And that's what gets me really excited. We're starting to see wearables become a really big part of kind of society. Apple Watch was announced. There's just so much excitement about micro location technology in the home where you can identify who's home and then have your home truly adapt to your family's coming and going without having to be proactive about it. And, it's funny when I first got Revolv, or we got it up and running and as alpha testing, I'm like, this is so cool. I landed at DIA. My wife and I and family took a midwinter trip. And we landed, and we're like, we're on the plane. We're like, as soon as we land, let's turn on the Nest thermostat. So by the time we get home, because we've been gone a week, right, and it's like 13 degrees out. So we get in the car, we're shuffling down there, we're cruising 60 miles an hour, and I forget. I totally forgot until I hit my geosense radius right around my home, and then it triggered. And that's crazy. I mean, it should know intelligently, when I'm out of the state and it recognizes I'm in Las Vegas, it should put the home in vacation mode, which looks lived in but is in energy conservation. Automatically, it recognizes my wife's phone and my phone is off the network. On the flip side, it should know when I'm at DIA, and it should know when to flip it on. And it should know who's home, and that when my kid gets home from school, he's got certain preferences, or we can enable them that would suit his lifestyle, so to speak, or not the entire family's lifestyle. So that's what's exciting. There's a lot of data-driven analysis, predictive analysis. We got to be real careful not to assume too much about the consumer and get in their way. We're a few years off from that, but long-term vision, that's what's exciting about this industry and where we see our company going.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most exciting aspect of the home automation, because it's fairly easy to get things to control these days. A little bit harder with AV, but like you said, would you call it the conscious home?
Conscious home, yeah.
Yeah. That sounds really exciting. I can't wait to see what We'll definitely have to get you back on when Revolv achieves full consciousness.
Well, that would be an exciting time, and maybe Revolv could speak for itself.
Right.
Yeah. No, that will be time. It's exciting, but you know what, Jason and Seth, it's really within our grasp now. I mean, not fully, not everything, but you start looking at technologies that are already doing it. You see a little bit with voice around Siri or Google Now, telling me how long it's going to take to get home. All of these services are going to come together soon, and they'll be able to talk with one another and really be able to do a good job understanding who I am. Now, there's always a trade-off, right, around privacy, around Big Brother, around, I don't know if I want to give that information up, but there's certainly also the payoff of the convenience of peace of mind. And, we kind of liken it to really the smart car. The car has made much more bigger, advancements. It started off with the key fob, right? I mean, even last 10 years, right? To have a car where you have to put the key in to unlock it is nuts. But then you start thinking, what's in there now? Well, it's got navigation. It warns me to back up, that I'm about ready to hit something. I mean, there's just so much more kind of intelligence built in that is still needs to arrive on the home front. And again, I can continue to ramble on it, but we'll save another.
No, it's great. I mean, it definitely sounds like you've got your finger right on the pulse of what's going on in this scene, and you guys have an exciting product, and we're always keeping an eye on you to see what's coming down the pipe. So we're kind of running up against our time here, and we can wrap up. But Mike, if any of our listeners want to find out more about you personally or about the company, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Sure. Me personally, best way probably follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is MSOUCIE, M Soucie. As far as the company, simply Revolv.com. That's Revolv without any, REVOLV.com. And then if you're interested in the developer dealer channel, if you, I think it's just /reseller, and I think you'll get to some documents there. So.
Okay, cool. Well, we will confirm that and put the link up in our show notes for anybody who's interested in checking that out. So, Mike, thanks so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it.
Really been a pleasure, both Jason and Seth. Thanks again for the opportunity.
You got it. Take care.
Thanks, Mike.